Keon Ellis starts, and Keon Ellis shines as the Sacramento Kings get a matinee victory over the Dallas Mavericks. Both the rookies, Maxime Raynaud and Clifford, played very, very well, and yet another record is broken by Russell Westbrook. We'll talk about it all right here on Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News. And first and foremost, I hope you had a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays with your family, with your friends. And it's nice to see a beam in the first game after Christmas for the Kings. Appreciate you coming back here to the Locked On Kings podcast after your holidays were all wrapped up. Missed you over the last few days. Kings get a victory over the Dallas Mavericks, 113-107 in a game where Keon Ellis is suddenly in the starting lineup with the absence of three starters, the most recent being Keegan Murray. Yesterday, he was diagnosed with a calf strain, a mild calf strain. He's going to be reevaluated in a week. Zach LaVine is still out with his ankle injury. Of course, Domantas Sabonis is still out with his knee injury. So the Kings, they're beat up. They've been beat up all season long. And Keon Ellis got the opportunity to start for the Kings tonight, and he delivered in a major way. Now, I actually thought that Clifford would get the start in this game. I thought it made sense. Neek started the second half in place of Keegan Murray when he got hurt against the Detroit Pistons before the Christmas break. So it made perfect sense for me. Kings are going kind of in a youthful direction. Give the rookie Neek Clifford some opportunity in that starting lineup and see how he does. But we found out pretty quickly once we arrived at the Golden One Center. Sean Cunningham from KCRA3 reported that Keon was going to get the starting opportunity. It turned out that was true. And the question is, why? And I don't mean that in any sort of negative way, because I do believe Keon Ellis is capable of starting. We've seen it a number of times over his career here in Sacramento. I don't think it was a bad decision or weird decision by any means for Doug Christie, but I'm asking why really? Why is it Keon Ellis getting that opportunity? To me, it's got to be one of three things. Number one, to appease him. You trying to make him happy. You trying to get maybe back in his good graces a little bit after he's been in and out of the rotation, and it's been obvious based off of his body language and how he's been playing and just how he's looked and acted recently that he's frustrated with how this season has gone. Who wouldn't be, given what Keon has gone through this season? And you're still thinking about trying to extend Keon or give him a new deal if he's still here past the trade deadline in February. So maybe this move was just to make Keon happy a little bit, get back in his good graces. Maybe it was to try and boost his trade value. We know that he's a commodity around the league. There have been multiple reports of teams monitoring and being very interested in Keon Ellis, and he's one of those guys that more than likely will hear more and more noise about and more chatter about as that February trade deadline approaches. So maybe the Kings are just trying to give him an opportunity to boost that value a little bit. Hey, maybe now a team would be willing to give up a lightly protected first-round pick or any kind of first-round pick in order to bring him and add him to what they got going on. Maybe. Or maybe it was Doug Christie recognizing that, hey, if I'm trying to win this basketball game today, starting Keon Ellis might give me my best chance to win. And if in this case, he was right if that was the case, because Keon Ellis was on fire to start this game. The first quarter alone, scored 15 points, 5 of 7 from the field, 3 of 5 from three-point range. He knocked down his first 4 shots, 3 of them from three-point range. For the game, Keon had 21 points, 5 of 10 from three-point range, and then did what he does on the defensive end, did what we've come to expect from him. He had 3 steals in this game, also had a couple of blocks. Something that caught my attention, when Keon hit his either 4th or 5th three-pointer of the game, Dallas calls timeout after he hits the shot. This was in the second half. And Keon's jog into the bench, and the first guy off the bench to greet him with a big smile and dapping him up and talking to him is Malik Monk. And that stood out to me because if there's been a competition for playing time on this roster recently that's been blatantly obvious to everybody, it's Keon and Malik. It seems like when one of them feasts, the other one famines, right? It doesn't seem to be very much opportunity for both of them to play at the same time. Now, both of them did get to play in this game, largely because of the amount of injuries that the Sacramento Kings are dealing with. But you would think that Malik would recognize any success for Keon Ellis could negatively impact his playing time and vice versa. But that's not how these two operate. They're teammates. They've been teammates through Keon's entire career. They've been friends, of course, throughout this entire time as well. So I personally noticed that reaction from Malik. And given everything that's been going on for this team and how frustrating this season has been, and we don't know if either of them are going to be on the Sacramento Kings past the February trade deadline. But to see them still have that relationship interact, I thought that was another good indicator of on the court versus off the court, and also another glowing example of how important and great Malik Monk is as a teammate, which we always know he has been that way. But I also don't think it's a coincidence or a surprise at all that you give Keon Ellis some consistent playing time and you get more consistent results from Keon. Right? The Kings let Keon play. He knew he was going to start coming into this game, and he played with the confidence of a starter, knowing, hey, I'm going to get some good minutes in this game. Keon would have had to have been just god-awful to be pulled and only play a handful of minutes in this game after starting. And we know Keon is not that type of player. But Keon in this game got 32 minutes, deserved every single second that he was out there on the floor. Look, I personally think Keon, under normal circumstances, is past that he's got to earn his playing time. Like, I understand when you're on the floor, you have to be impactful. You have to be valuable. And we've talked about this before. Keon has been, at times, really, really bad fairly recently in his playing time here for the Kings as of late, where he hasn't looked comfortable. He hasn't been impactful, not doing the things we expect on defense, not shooting the ball on offense, right? He just hasn't looked like himself. And if you're not going to play the right way, if you're not going to impact the game, of course, you're going to come out. I'm not saying he's immune to that. But Keon should not have to play well in limited minutes in 3 or 4 straight games to earn more playing time like he had to do when Mike Brown first gave him the opportunity his rookie season as an undrafted rookie. No, he's past that, especially for a team like the Sacramento Kings who's at the bottom of the Western Conference. We know who Keon Ellis is. So Keon should be getting more consistent playing time. I understand the log jam at his position and everything like that. But in general, if you're asking me, like, the Kings have to do a better job of finding consistent minutes for both him and Malik. It should not be one over the other when everybody is healthy, or more players are healthy than what the Kings are dealing with right now. After the game, I asked Keon Ellis about what the process has been like of staying ready and trying to remain consistent on the floor when your playing time hasn't been consistent at all. Here's what he had to say. You talk about staying ready. You'll hear coaches talk about that a lot, but what is that process like, staying ready, and how difficult is it to consistently perform when the consistent playing time might not be there, or you don't know when you're going to be playing and when you're not?
Just a lot of work behind the scenes. Just throughout the game, you kind of don't know when your number might get called. So kind of just got to be locked in on what's going on throughout the game, just in case you get thrown in and, you don't want to make the same mistake that someone's made earlier in the game, and things like that. But when you're out there, when the minutes are like that, just try not to do too much. Just try to keep it simple and, just get in where I fit in.
Of course, we got to shout out Russell Westbrook. Another day, another record that Russell Westbrook is breaking. He actually reached a couple of milestones here in tonight's game. He passed Magic Johnson. He's now 7th all time in assists in NBA history. Passing Magic Johnson in anything is pretty incredible. So congratulations to Russ for that. Remember, earlier on this season, Russ also became the leading rebounder as a guard in NBA history, and he widely considers himself the best rebounding guard ever. Well, the numbers support that. So we've witnessed that as Sacramento Kings fans this season. And even tonight, he surpassed 2,000 career steals. So the milestones just keep stacking up for Russell Westbrook. He had 21 points, 5 of 9 from three-point range in this game. Russ is also shooting the best three-point percentage of his career this season in Sacramento. So he's figured something out from the perimeter and become a very viable, dangerous weapon from three, and it's been fun to see. Also had 5 rebounds, 9 assists, a steal. Truthfully, and I know not too long ago, after the Kings win over the Houston Rockets, I was negative and frustrated about Russell Westbrook and DeMar DeRozan and the veterans taking too many shots and not always doing what I feel that they should do, which is yield opportunity to some of the younger guys who need to focus on developing a little bit. But it's important to realize and remember, and I'm talking to myself here just as much as I'm talking to you, as bad as this season is going and frustrating as this team is, like, we're watching history almost every single night when Russell Westbrook and DeMar DeRozan, but especially Russell Westbrook, is out there on the floor. Like, it's a privilege to be able to see Russ do what he does, and it's cool to see him breaking all these records while wearing a jersey with Sacramento or Kings across the chest. Russell spoke after the game about his milestone in passing Magic Johnson in assists.
Yeah, man, it's, before I speak and say anything, I'm truly blessed and thankful, to the man above for just allowing me and gifting me with the talent to go out and play basketball. And as for passing Magic, it's and it's an honor. Magic is one of the greats, and I mentioned this a little earlier, but yes, Magic did a lot of great things on the court, but growing up in the inner city of Los Angeles, Magic did a lot for the underserved, continue to do a lot. Something that I've kind of modeled and wanted to make sure the philanthropy side was done. And I think for him, that is something that I'm, grateful to be able to pass him just because he's such a legend in so many different ways. And I'm grateful to be able to pass him now. So.
This episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people making and moving the action. So in momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to actually impart that knowledge on the game in a way that benefits me. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by the people. You no longer are just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. This episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is also brought to you by DoorDash. The season is heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just watching your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun because every player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans can have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out. For the Kings, that's a lot of nights. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need dessert right now or right after the game is over. Those late-night interviews hit and suddenly you need chips at midnight. Well, DoorDash is built exactly for that. If the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes you show up prepared with snacks, cups, even a phone charger for the friend who's always at 2%. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever. It gets you through the season delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long. For my tanking crowd out there, I know some of you are frustrated by the Kings actually getting this win. You would have loved to see a lot of this good stuff happen and the Kings fall apart at the end and Dallas managed to steal a win and the Kings retain really, really good draft lottery odds. First off, this win doesn't change much at all. They still have very, very, very good draft lottery odds. And two, it's always better for the Sacramento Kings to win a game, especially when you're young players, when you're focusing on development in the future, when those young players are contributing to the level that both Maxime Raynaud and Nick Clifford contributed to this game. We could even throw Keon Ellis in there if you're a believer that Keon should be and will be part of that Kings core going forward as they execute or start this true rebuild. I don't know if he is or not, but I know Maxime Raynaud and Nick Clifford are. I know both of those guys were drafted by Scott Perry, so they're as much or as close to a part of the future as anybody on this roster, and both of those guys played well. Let's talk about Max first. The Stanford product, 19 points, 9 of 15 from the field, 6 rebounds, 1 steal, 2 blocks. I thought about this before, and I've probably said this before on Locked On Kings at one point. How in the world were there 41 players selected before Max? Now, to be fair, the second round is the Wild West. The second round of the draft is less about a team saying, I want that player, and more about agents negotiating where their player wants to go or the best place for their player to go. Obviously, the Kings had interest in Maxime Raynaud. Max and his camp had interest in playing for the Sacramento Kings, and we're seeing why. I don't think Max expected Domantas Sabonis to be hurt and out for as much of the season as he has been. Drew Eubanks going down as well. The rotation is him and Dylan Cardwell at the center position right now, and both of those guys are playing well and have been playing well, which is great to see. But I think Max recognized the opportunity in Sacramento, and he's making the absolute most out of it. As of right now, or the last I checked, the NBA.com put out their rookie ladder, the best rookies, basically like a rookie power rankings in the NBA. And Maxime Raynaud was 8th on the rookie power rankings as a second rounder, the 42nd overall pick. Now, I'm not saying put Max in the Rookie of the Year conversation, because even if he may have outplayed Cooper Flagg, he outplayed Cooper Flagg for a lot of this game. Don't get me wrong. Cooper Flagg got red hot to start that third quarter, and we'll talk about the Dallas start to the third quarter and Sacramento's response to that a little bit later on in the podcast. But for the most part, Max outplayed Cooper. I'm not saying Max is now going to vault himself into the Rookie of the Year conversation or anything like that, but like we talked about a couple weeks ago, like Maxime Raynaud absolutely should be in the Rising Stars game. 100% should be representing the Sacramento Kings on All-Star Weekend. I hope he gets that opportunity. Once again, he played very well in this game. The Kings are relying upon him a lot as their pick-and-roll threat with the absence of Domantas Sabonis, and he's stepping up. It's also nice to... While Max isn't a true rim protector necessarily, he's over 7 feet tall. He's got the wingspan to at least change shots at the rim, and you can see there's more of a confidence for the Sacramento Kings to play aggressively on the perimeter. Doug Christie talked about this after the game. The Kings guards are able to play a little more aggressively on the perimeter because they have a Maxime Raynaud and a Dylan Cardwell behind them. That Dylan definitely more of a shot blocker than Max is naturally. But both of those guys are there. They're corralling the paint, and teams have to be aware that if they're going to go to the rim, there are going to be a couple trees down there that they've got to float the ball over or somehow get past. And I'm glad Max is developing that kind of reputation for himself. Then there's Nick Clifford. And while this game, like numbers-wise, wasn't the most amazing, right? Shooting percentage-wise, wasn't a good game for Nick. I think it was 3 of 10. Yeah, 3 of 10 from the field in 20 minutes. This game was a really good example, a really good indication of who the Kings believed Nick to be when they drafted him, right? That kind of jack-of-all-trades type player. A player that can impact the game in so many ways. He played good defensively. He was crashing the glass. He had 9 rebounds in this game for Sacramento, 8 points, including a 3 that he hit in the second half. The majority of his points came in that second half. Also had 2 steals. I wrote down that he only had 1 foul because that's important. Nick is playing more hands-on, aggressive defense, and sometimes that gets him into foul trouble. It didn't in this game. Like that kind of jack-of-all-trades guard where realistically, I don't know if any of us should expect Nick Clifford to be a starting caliber player in the NBA, but can Nick have a long, successful NBA career, hopefully here in Sacramento, as a guy that comes in off the bench, plays in the high teens to 20 minutes a night, sometimes 25 plus minutes a night, and impacts the game in a lot of different ways, impacts winning in a lot of different ways, does whatever the team needs of him, can crash the glass if the Kings are shorthanded rebounding-wise, can distribute the basketball and control the basketball if the Kings need more ball handling, can space the floor and knock down threes as well as take on some of the top defensive assignments. That is who the Sacramento Kings want Nick Clifford and expect Nick Clifford to be. And he gave us a good indication of that, showed us a little bit of that in this game here tonight, which I think is a big plus and a big positive for this team. It was fun to watch here inside the Golden One Center. This episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is also brought to you by Game Time. During basketball season, there's nothing like being in the building. The energy, the crowd, that first big run that keeps everybody on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are really going to cost. That's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets, fast, simple, and without the guesswork. I use Game Time all the time. I actually just used Game Time to purchase tickets for my wife and sister-in-law to come and watch the Kings play the Boston Celtics on New Year's Day, that January 1st game, the next home game for the Kings. Bought tickets for that on Game Time, got a killer deal that I could not find anywhere else. Browsing the Game Time app is super straightforward. It's intuitive. The view from your seat is as accurate as you're going to find anywhere for any venue that you are selecting for whatever event. The prices include the fees up front, so you know exactly what you're going to be paying when you pick your seats, and you're not bombarded by those fees on that final checkout screen. So many amazing reasons to save money and get your tickets for any event on Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today and get in on the action. Dougie McBuckets, Doug McDermott, got some playing time for the Sacramento Kings. Just the third game this season that Doug has played in, and he came in and did exactly what we would expect Doug McDermott to do. He shot a lot of threes, and he made half of those threes, which is very, very good. 3 of 6 from three-point range, 9 points in 20 minutes of action. But I was watching Doug shoot, and I was watching the Kings very clearly making an effort to get Doug open, and I couldn't help but sit there and go, why don't the Kings do this for Keegan Murray more? Now, I understand that Doug is as pure of a shooter as it gets, right? That is his NBA skill. That is his talent. That is what he does. Keegan impacts the game more in different areas, of course, on the defensive end of the floor. And yes, in terms of like three-point shooting percentage and who's the more reliable three-point shooter, it is Doug McDermott over Keegan Murray. For sure. I'm not arguing that. But I have wondered, and I've wondered this for years. It's not just something this season. Why do the Sacramento Kings not make more of an effort to try and get Keegan Murray open on the perimeter more? Again, I understand that he has been on a steady decline three-point shooting percentage-wise since his rookie season. I understand that this season he's not been a reliable three-point shooter at all, though he's been doing a really good job, I think, scoring inside of the three-point line, getting downhill, getting to the rim, scoring from the mid-range. We're seeing more of that game from him, which is encouraging, so that he can actually still positively impact the game scoring-wise without only relying on that three-point shot. There's no question the Kings need him to knock that shot down more. And as of now, he's generating, when he plays, of course, he's hurt right now, he's generating good open three-point looks. They're not falling, and that's frustrating. But I do think the Kings could learn a thing or two, or could take what they do for Doug McDermott and run those same or similar sets for Keegan. Let him come off those curls. Let him get those catch-and-shoot opportunities in rhythm or while leaning a little bit. Maybe he doesn't like that shot, and maybe it doesn't work, but I want to see it more, because you don't just have to come off that screen and take the catch-and-shoot three. You can keep going and curl all the way around the screen and turn it into a mid-range jumper. You can use it to cut to the basket and try and score at the rim. Like, Keegan can do more with that set than Doug McDermott does. Every team in the world knows that if Doug's coming off that screen, he's looking to catch and let that thing fly. He's not going to take a dribble or anything like that. That shot is going up. Keegan can use that in 2 or 3 different ways offensively, and the Kings just simply don't do it enough, and I don't know why. So I would like to see Doug Christie and the Kings when Keegan Murray returns from this injury. Try and make more of a conscious effort to run him off of screens and get him involved in the game offensively. The same way Doug McDermott in 20 minutes, but it wasn't even 20 minutes, in the first couple of minutes that he came in. Again, this is just the third time he's played this season. Doug comes into the game, immediately is getting plays where he's running off of screens and he's getting threes, and thankfully he was knocking them down in this game. Do the same thing for Keegan Murray. One final thing to talk about before we wrap up. Doug Christie talked about after the game that the Kings are turning a corner, and I agree with him. He was mainly talking about the defensive end. He feels that this team is doing a better job since that first Portland game, that they're doing a better job defending with physicality, making more of an impact on the game in that way. And you can look at their recent performances and see, like, we're not seeing those huge double-digit deficits. We're not seeing the Kings getting blown out. We're seeing them battle and compete and fight in every game, even the losses. That's encouraging. I'm not saying that everything's fixed and everything's great all of a sudden in Sacramento, and Doug's not either, but this team has shown growth in that area, and like we've talked about before, I don't think it's a coincidence at all that we're seeing that growth with the young guys playing hard and playing more consistently. And we can also talk about who is not playing if you want to, but no need to turn this into a major negative. But I do feel overall, offensively too, the Sacramento Kings are playing better. They look more comfortable together. Roles look more defined. And there was a moment in this game that I thought was really encouraging. I actually asked Doug Christie about it after the game. And I'm not going to play it for you because the answer was whatever. But the Kings are up. They had an 18-point lead in the first half. They have a comfortable lead at halftime. I don't remember how big it was. And Cooper Flagg and the Dallas Mavericks come out and they explode on like a 10-0 or some kind of big run. And they cut that Kings double-digit lead down to single digits. Cooper Flagg scored 15 points on 5 of 5 shooting in the span of the first 6 minutes of that third quarter. And here we are thinking, oh, God, here we go. Kings played really well in that first half, but one bad quarter it's going to blow up and that lead's gone. Actually, the Mavericks might have gone to within like 3 points. Looked like they were going to have a chance to tie the game or take the lead. Doug Christie calls a timeout. The Kings regroup. They answer with a 9-0 run, and just like that, they get their lead right back up to the largest it was, 18 points. You know who does that? Good teams. How many times have we talked about? We just saw it with the Detroit Pistons in here the other night, the last game. A team that just keeps you at arm's distance for most of the game. And then when you make your run, they respond to it to where you put all that energy, you put all that effort, you put all your hope into that big run that gets you back into the game. And just like that, it's gone. And now you're deflated. Now you're exhausted. You're like, God, we fought so hard to get back in this game. And all our work is gone immediately in half a quarter. Now we got to muster up the energy to do it again and this time hold on to it and win that game. We saw the Kings do that to the Dallas Mavericks tonight. It's usually the Kings are having that done to them. That was really encouraging to see. That's a sign of growth in my mind for the Sacramento Kings team, so I was excited about that. Overall, a good, fun night here in the Golden One Center. Russell Westbrook breaking records. Keon Ellis shining as a starter. The Kings rookies playing really, really well. The beam is lit. A good win. A good win here inside the Golden One Center and a fun one to talk about here on the Locked On Kings podcast. Now I want to hear from you. Your thoughts on this game, on Keon's performance, Russ, whoever you want to talk about, let it fly. At MattGeorgeSack on Twitter. You can email me, mattgeorgesports@gmail.com, or leave your thoughts in the YouTube comment section down below. Appreciate your support as always. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode of Locked On Kings. Until then, my name is Matt George. You've been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.